I'm still at the beach. And I now have my daughter's life jacket and my beach towel and my beach chair. I mean, I'm missing the sand a little bit, but it's all right. It'll be okay. I have my glass of water. Like I said, if I go to the beach, I need my water. And my sunscreen's still over here too. And my book. All right, let's get on to Ivan. Mr. Oog. Here's how I figure puppy eyes got their start. Cave humans were sitting around a fire wearing mammoth fur. This is always tricky sometimes. And look, even as an adult. Let's see if I can get this really close. Right over here, it says M-A-M dash, and then goes over here and says M-O-T-H. And so you have to put those two chunks together. They break it at a syllable, but you still have to think about it a little bit. So mammoth, fur, and grunting about how there were nothing on TV because TV hadn't been invented yet. And some willy wolf thought, whoa, they've got leftover mammoth meat. And he probably whimpered and cowered and did a tummy display and looked pathetic enough that Mr. Oog finally tossed him a bone. And soon enough, a few zillion years later, voila, man's best friend. After all that time, there's a timing thing, like a magnetic attraction between dogs and humans. We've studied them for so long we can read every twitch and sigh. Suppose it was easier than chasing down mammoths. And I do get it. I do. The behind the ear scratch, the food in a fancy bowl, the bed by the fireplace. Gotta admit that Julia's pretty fun to hang out with. And I'm grateful, really I am, that her family took me in. Still, I don't need them. Ooh, needs and wants. Talk about the difference in social studies. You need someone. Eventually they let you down and you end up feeling like a real doofus. The park. As Julia walks, I need sneak peeks out of her backpack like I always do. We pass the meerkat family poking out of their den holes like the whack-a-mole game that they used to have at Max Mall. Whack-a-mole, you kind of go like, this mole pops up and you hit it, and then this mole pops up and you hit it. I actually have it in my cupboard over there. I see the fleshy flamingos and their one-legged balancing act and the terrifyingly beautiful tigers. Even their cute cubs give me the willies. Families, I've noticed, take a lot of different shapes. Jim and Joe, the penguins, adopted an abandoned egg, and there are the sweetest doting parents you ever saw. I see it with humans at the park, too. Families of all shapes and sizes and colors and genders, and yep, they all seem to do just fine. We round a corner past Sea Otter Alley. Oliver and Olivia are floating calmly on their backs, holding each other's paws. It's pretty adorable, I have to admit. But me, I don't need the trouble that comes with family. Babies puking, toddlers whining, spouses nagging. Talk about a design flaw. There's that picture. They're walking in the park. Julia, Bob peeking out. Better be careful so it doesn't get caught. Change. The park's pretty big. Lots of twisty paths and fascinating smells. All the parks have names. All the parts have names. Parks and parts. They have very similar letters. There's African Avery, the Outback, the Penguin Cove, Lemur Land. It's like puzzle pieces of the world. A little Africa here, a little Asia over there. Dogs, you can find us pretty much everywhere. Our territory is Earth. As long as we're hooked up with humans, that is. Along the shady paths, volunteer guides will answer your questions. They'll tell you about how animals used to roam one part of the world or another until things changed. Things change. That's one thing I figured out. Don't ever assume a little patch of planet belongs to you. Things change. Boxes go flying. My inner wolf. On our way, we always stop by the wolf habitat. Julia loves wolves, probably because they remind her of me. You have to look hard, maybe squint a little, but if you try, you can catch a hint of my inner wolf. It's in the eyes, mostly, also in the distinguished profile. I dream I'm a wolf sometimes, and when I wake up, I'm panting and my fur's on alert, and I'm feeling, yeah, the world could hurt me, but I could hurt the world right back even harder. And there's a dangerous, hard part of chained inside, struggling to get free and just, I don't know, get even. Then I go to see what's for breakfast. Kimu. There's a gray wolf at the park who makes me a little jittery. Jittery, great word. You feel jittery, kind of feel nervous. Your body feels a little twitchy inside. Jittery, as in I sometimes worry that he might eat me. His name is Kimu, and we struck up a conversation with a mutual acquaintance of ours. A mockingbird called Mitch introduced us one day. Like Nutwit, Mitch likes to taunt me because I'm domesticated. Domesticated means live with humans and in a house and I'm owned. Gives me a lot of grief about how free he is, soaring stringless over the whole town. He doesn't have to go to one spot. He roams the whole world and isn't controlled by anybody. I'm not the only one who's pampered, I said one day. I mean, look at Kimu. He's not exactly running wild. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, I regretted them. And when I looked at Kimu, I could kill you with one quick bite expression. I really regretted them. In my case, I said, moving the subject along, I've lived wild. I ain't a panic for a dog. It ain't a picnic for a dog. What was it like? Kimu asked. He moved closer to the edge of the domain. He had a strange odor, intense and scary and a little bit intoxicating. Well, I was just a pup, I said, abandoned by the side of the highway. Kimu was listening intently. Must have been tough. All I could think of was food and water. I didn't like the catch in my voice. Owl got me. There's Bob. Those guys are fierce, Kimu said. Can't hear them coming. I know, right? I relaxed a little. I hate owls, said Mitch. Hate them with a passion. They eat birds, you know. I know, right? So do wolves, said Kimu, giving Mitch a meaningful look. So you were wild once, asked Kimu. Never. Born and raised in captivity. Suzu over there, she told us stories that would curl your fur. Honestly, it's nice to have a roof over my head. It's tough out there, man. Really tough. I suppose, said Kimu. I looked at him and for the first time wondered if I really did have any wolf in me. He was just a majestic animal and with teeth that could shred a tree trunk. I'm also majestic but more portable, with teeth that could mangle a pencil with enough time and effort. Hey, Bob, Mitch said. Do dogs howl the way wolves do? Of course we do. So let's hear something. A duet, maybe. He fluttered his wings, revealing startling patches of white. Do you know? Talk to animals. They play that on the carousel. Go away, Mitch, said Kimu, with just the right amount of menace in his voice. Come on, just a little howling. Pretend there's a moon. Pretend you're free. Pretend. Kimu growled, and so did I. His was pretty impressive. Guttural, deep. I spoke of deep and dismemberment and all kinds of unpleasant bird nightmares. I growled too. It spoke of, well, being mildly peeved. So the wolf is a lot more mean-sounding than Bob. Still, Mitch got the message. He disappeared, a blur of wings. Actually, I'd never howled at the moon, I admitted. Me either, said Kimu. I'd feel kind of silly doing it here. Enrichment. Let's see, how long is this one? We'll be able to finish this one. We're almost to my favorite spot. Ooh, page 100. We're almost to my favorite spot in the park. The great thing for me is that the corner of Gorilla World just juts up against Elephant Odyssey, the area where Ruby lives. A low stone wall separates the two spaces, and there's a moat on the elephant side. The sections connect like two slices of pie, and my secret spot is right in the center where I can hang with my crew. Ivan and Ruby both have access to indoor habitats, which is great when the weather isn't cooperating. The indoor space for gorillas ain't bad. I call it the Gorilla Villa. It has tons of ropes and hammocks and branches to climb. Humans watch through a thick wall of glass while the young gorillas run around like kids at recess. But whenever Julie and I visit, we can almost always find Ivan and Ruby inside. We trudge up a little rise through it isn't much of a hill. We live in a pretty flat part of the world. From there I can see just about everything. The park, the parking lot, the creek. Far beyond that, every now and then, I can even glimpse the ocean. My secret place is a little hard to get to. Right near the keeper's shed, nicely hidden by trees and bushes. Under a big magnolia tree, there's a bench shaped like a gorilla holding out his arms. Julie likes to sit there and draw. Sometimes she does her homework, which smells like frustration with a hint of eraser. Remember, Bob has a really good nose, so he can smell feelings even. Whenever I visit, Julia props me up on the stone wall and separates Ruby's world from Ivan's. Visitors can't see me, and the keepers pretend not to see me. If they caught any other dog there, he'd be out in a heartbeat. But Ivan and Ruby and I have a history. I make them happy. I'm what you call enrichment. At the park, they try to keep animals engaged with surprises and challenges and changes in their environment. That's what enrichment is all about. The gorillas get watermelons to demolish and boxes to hide in and markers for drawing. The elephants get sprinklers and flavored water and elephant-sized rubber balls. Not exactly like a day in a real jungle, of course, but the keepers try as hard as they can to make life interesting. For Ivan and Ruby, I'm the ultimate enrichment. I'm their best pal. All right, friends. Enjoy your beach day. Get me those pictures, and we'll see you later.